Hey y'all, how are you doing? See, we got one or two people on. Thank you so much. If you're new, hi, welcome. I'm Trish. And go ahead and click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm very annoyed with Facebook and Instagram because they choke my Intactivist posts. And so right now, my blog and YouTube are about the safest places for me to talk about foreskin. Hey, Daniel. Oh my gosh, it must be, what is it, 3 or 4 in the morning? I hope you don't have to go to work. But as people are coming on, people are getting the message that I've started live. Go ahead, please subscribe, and please hit that bell to be notified of every new show as it happens. And please look at my community tab every now and then. I'm trying to post more there as well. 3 a.m., Daniel. All right. Well, I am so grateful that you stayed up late for this show. This topic, I've tried to think about how I can talk about this. Thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. I think about this topic all the time, the topic of foreskin, and I try not to think about the circumcision part, because for me, circumcision is what happens, like it's a done deal, right? When people being anti-circumcision, you're trying to undo something that's already been done, or the concept of circumcision as it is in our culture, the United States, which is when you have a boy, it's just something you do. You circumcise your boy. And so what I try to do as a what I try to do as a pro-foreskin intactivist rather than anti-circumcision, I try to educate people about foreskin, why it's there, why all boys have it, why men need it, why boys need it. And so I try to approach the topic from the morphology, anatomy, physiology, and even kinesiology of the foreskin itself. Okay, now none of that has anything to do with the dream. But it's very important to understand what foreskin is and the functions, plural, the many functions of the foreskin that it provides for the boy and for the man, because they are actually different. And, I work almost exclusively with intact men. And one of the things that's really interesting is that the phimosis, for instance, phimosis and smegma are two of the big things. I'm just waiting for people to, jump on the call here, jump on the show here. But phimosis and smegma both have the same issue, in my opinion, and that you're using the same word to describe one thing that's good and something else that's not good. Phimosis is normal in newborns and boys, and it's not normal in adult men. Smegma is normal in teenage boys and adult men, but what happens if you don't clean, the overgrowth of yeast and bacteria is also called smegma, but that's not what smegma is, right? So education is very important to me. Anyway, so let me go ahead and get on with this. I don't see the one person I had hoped would be on here tonight, or at least she hasn't chimed in yet. But I wanted to talk about this because when my friend, let me explain what happened. I got a text message from a friend of mine this morning, and she is a twin flame. I am a twin flame. We are both on the ascension journey. A twin flame is a type of light worker. So you may resonate with light worker, or there are a lot of different terms. Basically, if you believe that love is the most powerful thing and that we're all stronger together rather than being divided by whatever demographic society wants to put us into, then that's what we call unity consciousness. So if you kind of align with those ideas, then you might well consider yourself a light worker, right? I think love is the only thing that's real. Everything else is drama. Anything else is bullshit. It's just, it's just not for me. Love is all there is. Love is the only thing that's real. So, okay. So my friend who was a twin flame, she messaged me that she had had a dream And in the dream, it was something about circumcision, and she corrected herself, and I can't remember now. So anyway, it was about circumcision. And instantly the bells in my head went off, because circumcision, fighting circumcision as a pro foreskin intactivist is a very important part of my soul mission as a twin flame light worker. It's not only a part of my soul mission under my umbrella of sacred shaman, as I call myself, but it's also intactivism is very important with my twin flame and our joint soul mission. And so there's just no getting around the fact that preaching about the good news of foreskin is definitely a part of what I'm supposed to do. Anyway, so she tells me that she dreamt of circumcision in regard to her twin flame. And of course, again, bells went off in my head. And then she tells me that she gave some definition of what some psychologists said it means for circumcision to show up in a dream. And then she shows me this picture of this book, this dream interpretation book she had, where it said that dreaming about circumcision, I'm paraphrasing, is dreaming about cutting out people from your life that don't matter. So, all right, so let me back up just a little bit. The psychologists are likely male and circumcised, so they really shouldn't be talking about foreskin. Okay? A book that says that circumcision relates to cutting out people in your life that don't matter, they are equating foreskin as something that doesn't matter. And as someone who is writing a book about the importance of foreskin, why it's there and why men need it, this was, I can't believe that it was shocking to me, but it was. And anyway, so in equating that foreskin doesn't matter, they're basically just telling anybody who reads this dream interpretation book, it's just reinforcing this notion that we have in this country that foreskin is irrelevant. Foreskin is just, circumcision is just a snip, and that foreskin is, just a bit of skin that can be thrown away. A friend of mine just posted on Twitter 2 days ago, and he sent me the pictures that he did a test where he exposed took a picture of, he pulled back his foreskin and he took a picture of his glands, and it's this completely smooth, shiny glands, like literally the light is bouncing off his glands. It's so shiny and smooth. He kept the foreskin retracted for an hour and took another picture. It was shocking, the difference. You could already see it was dull. It had these long cracks in it where it was already drying out after just an hour. And his comment was, he said, "Oh my God, I can't believe what this looks like or what this does over a lifetime." Well, I can tell you, I say it all the time, it damages the penis. Now, in many ways, I'm trying to get to the dream interpretation part. But foreskin allows a man to truly be in his sensitivity, in the true meaning of the word sensitivity, and that is sensation. I have heard from a number of men who got circumcised as adults for whatever reason, damage to the foreskin. They were tired of being rejected by women who thought that foreskin is ugly and gross, dirty, they didn't want to touch it, that kind of thing. And they got tired of being, ouchie. They got tired of trying to explain to women what to do with foreskin. So in their mind, they said it was just easier to get circumcised rather than deal with that rejection and that humiliation, because they literally feel humiliated. And so they instantly regretted it. And 6 months down the road, year down the road, they they come to me looking for help about how to restore their sexual function. One man that came to me, he had great sex with a friend of his. He was talked into getting circumcised by his aunt, who was a nurse. And so he gets circumcised, and within 6 months, he has trouble maintaining erections, because one of the things he didn't realize is that the foreskin is not only involved in sexual arousal, but the foreskin is also the trigger for ejaculation. And so without that connection to the prostate gland and without that connection of his nerves, he had trouble keeping. Oh, Raven, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah. So basically, men come to me when they're looking for help because they have been, as Raven said, guilted, lied to by the medical establishment, guilted and shamed by culture, women and culture of itself, or religion, into getting circumcised, and they hate it. So one of the things that really stood out to me about this circumcision in a dream, what most people don't realize when you live in a cutting culture, is that by making the circumcision seem like the norm when it's not in the rest of the world, is that there's so much misinformation. You have a boy, he's going to get circumcised. The people don't even think about it. They don't bother to research circumcision. YouTube has circumcisions on video. You can watch a circumcision. Please have your sound on so you can hear the baby screams. Okay, I'm going to just say that. But the thing is that what a lot of people don't know is that circumcision is the first physical wounding as well as the first sexual wounding of males. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Circumcision of a newborn, or even an older boy, but especially for new, circumcision is the first physical wounding as well as the first sexual wounding that a man ever experiences. And if you think about it as a woman, I'm a mother, I have a child, a daughter. And so the idea of having her circumcised is absolutely ludicrous. And yet circumcising girls used to be commonplace in the United States as well. I don't know if you knew that. But the women's movement in the 60s helped quell that, because women said, wait a minute, we have human rights. We have basic rights to body autonomy. And then somebody got a clue, hey, wait a minute, why are we circumcising girls? Men didn't make that connection of body autonomy and ending circumcision. They have now, thankfully, some of them, But as a woman, when you're doing all of these right things to have a healthy baby, and you eat the right things, you stop drinking, you stop smoking. If you smoke, you stop doing the hard drugs or the little drugs. You take your prenatal vitamins, you make sure you get all the good stuff that you need so that you have a healthy baby. And then you give birth. Labor is no fun, people. But you're willing to do this to give birth to your child, and then he comes out and he's perfect and wonderful, and just like you experience this love like you've never experienced before. And then somebody says, okay, we're going to go cut off part of his penis, and you're like, yeah, okay. That doesn't make sense. That just does not make sense. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the circumcision culture we have in the United States was started by men. So for you circumcised men who like to blame your mother and other men that you're circumcised, please blame men, because they're the ones who started it. Okay, thank you. And then also it was perpetuated by money. So you have these men. I don't know if you've ever heard of John P. Kellogg, but he was a religionist. He loved his religion, and he thought sex was dirty. In fact, he and his wife never consummated their marriage because he thought sex was so disgusting. But they adopted like 42 kids. They fostered 42 kids, but he didn't consummate their marriage. He was the driving force behind the notion that that circumcision needs to happen in order to end masturbation in boys and girls. So he's actually the one that kind of got this going with circumcision of boys and girls in the United States. And yes, I said Kellogg as in your cornflakes cereal. So if you're looking for products to boycott, I would boycott anything made by Kellogg. So, so again, I'm trying to get to the dream interpretation. There's so much about this. Y'all know that this whole topic means a lot to me. Again, it is my my soul mission. A big part of my life purpose is to end circumcision. And you're like, well, wait a minute. How did you get that as a life purpose? It's because as I say in my book, intact. I don't know if you can see intact, men as they were born to be. Intact, being intact is the natural state. And I strongly feel that if we are going to end the violence against women, we must first end the violence against men. And the first physical wounding, the first bit of physical violence and sexual violence that males experience in our culture here in the United States is circumcision when they're usually within a day old. And for other cultures, it's later. Muslims will circumcise, Jews circumcise when the baby's 8 days old, Muslims circumcise when they're 6 to maybe 10 years old, Filipinos circumcise at age 12-ish. They have 3 or 4 adult men hold down the boy as the circumciser does it with no anesthesia and no deadening. The idea that this is still considered a rite of passage. So to prove a boy's, rite of passage into manhood is just, it's ludicrous to me. And there are just so many different myths that I'm not going to cover here. The idea that circumcision is cleaner, it's not. Have you ever seen a bloody diaper after a boy has been circumcised? If you tell me that's cleaner than a diaper that just has urine in it from an intact boy, you're just straight up lying. There's so much money behind the scenes for the doctors, the hospitals, especially the hospitals, as they sell the foreskins to cosmetic companies, research labs, biotech labs. One foreskin has been estimated to rake in about $100,000 once it's sold and resold and resold. Foreskins are sold to academic companies that what do they call it? The pieces that they use in chemistry and biology lab experiments in universities. Foreskins are sold to companies that used to make new skin victims and people who needed skin grafts. One baby foreskin could create 4 acres of new skin that could be applied. But there are better types of skin that are being developed. One person in particular, I think he's from Alabama, was able to create new skin that is able to be made faster and better and stronger, and it's not nearly as resistant. The people who get the skin grafts, their bodies accept it more readily. It's really cool. So anyway, so for me, as an intactivist, just like I said, just bells went off in my head when she told me that she had circumcision in a dream about her twin flame, because as twin flames, we feel everything that our twin feels. And so the thing is that this, whatever psychologists say, again, they're probably circumcised men, so they have no idea what foreskin is and what it does, or certainly not what it feels like to have and the sexual pleasure that foreskin brings. But then also this notion that foreskin doesn't matter and equating circumcision in a dream with cutting out people who don't matter, that just solidifies the fact that they're clueless. The thing is, though, is that books are written by people. Psychologists are people. And having a dream, it's not about the ego. People are an ego. We live in ego. This whole 3D experience is ego. Who we are, our identity is all ego. That's not a bad thing. The ego is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that. An unhealthy ego, well, might want to work on that. But our ego gives us our sense of self, and who we are and our place in the world and our value and our worth in the world, but a big part of our ego, especially when we're younger, is shaped by the attitudes and the opinions of people around us. And the people around us, some of them treat us the best way they know how. And they even do, but they do things that are not right, simply because they don't know better. And other people do things that aren't right. They feel certain shame, blame, guilt, or bad feelings in their own life, and they're acting out. Their own aggressions, their own frustrations onto other people, onto us, basically. So my point is that circumcision is something that is experienced by the physical baby, and the physical baby doesn't know a damn thing that some psychologist wrote in a book, or that some person wrote in a book for dream interpretation. But the baby understands it on a very physical, very visceral level, and it is about wounding, and it's about sexual wounding. I mean, Jewish writers way back in the 12th and 13th centuries specifically said circumcision should be promoted even further than it was already within the Jewish culture, simply because circumcision was known even in the 12th and 13th centuries to seriously hinder male sexuality. They were shaming men who liked sex, wanted lots of sex, enjoyed sex, because they felt that it put the man too much into the clutches of women. They actually said this. He said that intact men can't please women enough, in that the sex is so good, the women just want more and more and more and more. But with a circumcised man, the sex is average to not very sexually fulfilling for the woman. So the women are like, yeah, okay, that's enough. Thanks, bye. And so these Jewish writers, it's really fascinating when you write, it's like, wow, they really realized that a circumcised sex can be unfulfilling. Now, as soon as I say that, there are going to be plenty of women that say, well, I've only had sex with circumcised men, and sex has always been great. Wonderful. I'm very glad for you. But I've also heard from plenty of women who've said just the opposite. So the point here is that, well, number one, boys have rights to body autonomy. Okay. And if they don't want their foreskin, they can choose to have it cut off when they're 18. That is their right to their body, number one. Secondly, as a dream interpretation, I would not trust a book written by circumcised men. I would not trust a book talking about circumcision that's written by a woman who's only been with circumcised men, which is if this book writer, if this author is as a woman, she probably has only been with circumcised men if she's American. But then again, I want to stress that babies don't know about ego, right? They have no clue about ego. And so dreaming about circumcision is going to be an issue that it's going to be on a soul level. And now here, I know if you're an atheist, intactivist, you're not going to want to hear this. So you can turn the volume off. But from a spiritual perspective, and those of us who are here to anchor love, circumcision is not about love, it's about wounding. And Jewish intactivist and psychologist Ronald Goldman has proven through studies that there is immediate, short-term, and long-term emotional and psychological ramifications for circumcision. And so Freud thought that circumcision was, Freud's not the only one, but Freud very clearly stated that he thought that circumcision was like symbolic for castration. And it really is, because that is basically the effect. Over 60% of men who have erectile dysfunction in the United States are circumcised. Their problems stem from circumcision when they were babies. And their problems with maintaining erection and having climax or ejaculation when they want. They can't control it. And it's because that connection between the foreskin and the prostate has been severed. And then there's the whole idea that once you remove the foreskin completely from the glands, is that the glands of the penis and the what's called, it's cute, it's called the neck and the penis. I'm the first person. Oh, I am so pro foreskin. Honey, you need to check out my website, trishkazi.com. Look through the blog. You'll see. I'm updating my website, so please don't judge it right now. Okay. All right. But yeah, I don't even remember what I was saying, but y'all get it. Y'all get it. This is about, understanding what circumcision represents from a spiritual perspective. Circumcision represents wounding, physical wounding and sexual wounding of men. And for those of us who are divine feminine twin flames, we love our divine masculines. We love all divine masculines. We love, you should love all. It can be really hard sometimes, but we do our best, but the divine masculine has experienced so much wounding, physically, emotionally, psychologically, mentally, and sexually, that the divine feminines need to understand and be a little bit accepting of our men when they're being, well, I don't want to say jackasses, but yeah, that, because the men right now, men as a whole, as a segment of society, men are trying to shed toxic masculinity. And this is thousands of years of patriarchal bullshit that men are trying to basically slough off within one generation. And it's really difficult at times to remember just how much work our men are doing. And so we just need to give love to our masculines, and we need to understand where they're coming from when they're lashing out. I'm not talking about physical abuse. If they're actually lashing out at you physically or sexually, you call the police. Let's not be dumb, okay? But if their anger, they're dealing with past life stuff, past life crap and abuse and trauma. Even if they didn't experience trauma in this lifetime, they're dealing with past life trauma. And if you think this life is tough for men, imagine what it was like 100 years ago, 200, 300, 400 years ago, 1,000 years ago, being the strong, silent type, and trying to solve everything through your fist or a sword. The idea of being a sensitive man would have gotten you jailed, for being a homosexual or just a heretic, or just, being suspected of thinking women were right about anything, So anyway, I'm trying not to get too much into the spiritual side of things, but I really can sympathize with how much men have to shed in this lifetime. I mean, just think of how far we've gone, with men who are waking up and they are realizing the toxic patterns that they have taken on because of the toxic situations and the toxic environment, the culture that they were raised in. If a man wants to walk down the street in a purple tutu and a unicorn corn on his head, and proclaim that he is a masculine straight man, that's so cool. Let him do that. Let's not judge him. If that's the way he wants to express, whatever. But our society is still not ready to allow men to be in their full masculine selves, and a true divine masculine is able to express his feelings and is able to express emotion without feeling any kind of shame. And he can express love for another man platonically, nothing gay about it, but just love for another human being who just happens to be another man. We're just now getting to that place in our culture, I don't know. I just, here's one of the things that in the book, intact men as they were born to be. I don't know if y'all can see. I don't like push-up bras. Otherwise this would be higher. But anyway, if you're intact, go take the survey for the book on my website, trishcausey.com. Just do a search for the intact survey. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting, that in the survey, I asked the men, when you watch porn, do you feel represented? Do you like what you see in porn? And okay, Raven, I won't give you the answer. Don't listen. Okay, I'm about to give the answer. They overwhelmingly, the men who took my survey for the book overwhelmingly said no, they don't like what they see in porn. No, they don't feel represented. That as soon as the porn starts, within like a minute, they're just going at it. And it's this hard action that they don't really relate to because, thank you. They don't relate to it because it's not their experience. Overwhelmingly, these intact men, and it's over 200 men from around the world, I think it's 32 countries, that last count, who filled out the survey. Overwhelmingly, the majority said they loved slow sex. They loved slow sex where they can really connect with the woman. And this is even the first time when they have sex with a woman. This isn't after they've had a relationship for a while and, or they've fallen in love. This is from the first time they have sex. And overwhelmingly, the intact men prefer slow, sensitive sex where they really have a chance to connect to the woman. And that is because of the sensations that they are allowed to have because of the foreskin. So I was shocked by that. I mean, I had heard it from, the few men that I had talked to, but then to see this over and over again in the, yes, you can unmute. Yes, yes, yes. So, yeah, Daniel, I'm sorry. So thank you, Raven. Now go take the survey. But yeah, in fact, Raven, if you will please email me. I just switched my website over to a new platform that I hope is more stable. And do you know, okay, contact@trishcausey.com. That's how you can email me directly. Contact@trishcausey.com. And so if you have problems getting the survey to me, just let me know. I haven't had anybody take it yet. I just switched my website over. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So anyway, and 3333. Oh, that's amazing. Okay. So anywho, I love men. I love, love, love men. And my intactivism actually stems from my feminism and the idea that body autonomy is one of the most basic human rights we have. And, seeing the difference in men and how they talk about sex, because circumcised men talk about sex in a completely different way than intact men. It's really fascinating. And my book is going to bring a lot to light, I think. Where is it? It's on my website, trishcausey.com. Like I said, I just moved things over to this other platform. So some of the links are not the same as they used to be. And I'm in the process of that. Anyone who would like to donate to help me get my site upgraded, please. I accept donations, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Google Pay, Zelle. I have it all. I gratefully appreciate donations to help me with my intactivism. In fact, I was trying to get on the road as the foreskin fairy and go to major cities around the country, but I only got about $150 in donations. So I'm going to do the best I can with that. I'm going to try and get to New Orleans and Nashville. But if you'd like to donate to the Foreskin Fairy Tour, I would greatly appreciate it. It costs quite a bit to rent a vehicle for a month to do this kind of thing. But I hear inner from cut, guys. I don't know what that means, but I will trust you if you want to rephrase that. But anyway, I love men. I think men are so beautiful, and I think men are capable of such beauty, not only within themselves, but then to express that outward. But our society, government, politics, religion, patriarchal bullshit culture have tried to subdue men's natural beauty and men's natural sensitivities, because being loving and being sensitive has always been considered a liability. Because what happens is being sensitive has always been considered a liability. Because what happens is, and I didn't want to go into this too much, but I'll go ahead and do it because we're here. But you know, there's a reason why America promoted circumcision, not just because of the religionist craze back in the day, but men are less sensitive to their own feelings, and they're less sensitive to women's feelings. It makes them actually more able to be controlled. They listen to first of all, they're more angry statistically. I'm not saying every circumcised man is an angry man. I'm not saying that. I certainly know circumcised men who are wonderful. But statistically, and again, Dr. Ronald Goldman's studies show that circumcised men tend to have more anger issues. They also are more likely to want to do things that are more what we would consider violent or more aggressive, and they are more aggressive. And then they actually, because less in tune with their own sensations and what they feel, they are a little bit easier to control. Therefore, well, I'm just going to say, look at our military. Why is it so big? You know? They're more easy to be controlled in that regard, because they're not as connected to their own feelings, or they're able to deny their own feelings more easily. And Dr. Ronald Goldman's work is really fascinating, and I recommend his work to anybody who wants to look more into the psychology of the psychological ramifications of circumcision. Hey, Mike, I saw your comment. I think there was another comment from Raven. But anyway, so again, circumcision as a dream, because again, our dreams are not our ego. In fact, I think our dreams really are to allow us to escape our ego for just a bit, so that we can have communication with our spirit team on the other side, etc. But circumcision is the first physical wounding. It's the first physical violence that a man experiences. Circumcision is the first sexual wounding and the first sexual violence that a man experiences. And just as men in our culture are told that they need to just suck it up and deal with it, and you know, circumcision's just the way things done, that's how they're also told to deal with pedophile priests and other types of sexual trauma that the Me Too movement was all about for women. And then men jumped on that train and said, hey, Me Too too. you know. So anyway, I would not trust what a dream interpretation book says about circumcision if it's written by men who are likely circumcised or a woman who's never been with an intact man. The foreskin is just amazing as a body part. Well, I'm fascinated by the penis. I love the penis. The penis is beautiful and the penis is amazing. And so to see and play with an intact penis, let me tell you, there's nothing more fun than that. It is, it's really just the coolest thing. And I want that for every woman and gay man. Yeah, Mike, I knew you were going to come in on that. Yeah. But it's just amazing. And then to see the responses of intact men to my book survey, talking about sex, talking about what they feel when they orgasm, and talking about just how they really love the slow sex and the sensual sex. I saw that, Mike. Thank you. I love you too. You know, it's really just amazing, the difference. And I think I've told this story. If y'all want me to tell one more story, I'll tell one more story. I don't want to bore y'all, you know, with my stories. I got lots of them. But the Intact book actually was inspired by one man in particular. Actually, he's my twin flame. But before that, I wanted to do some kind of project about, thank y'all very much. I appreciate it. I'm here. No, you're not the only female here. I'm here. Anyway, so I had wanted to do a project about foreskin. And this stemmed from a book, a survey I had actually done on oral sex, on fellatio, because I wanted to write a book on fellatio because it just turns out that I'm really good at it. Yeah. And so I was doing this survey about fellatio, and a number of men responded. I think maybe 30 or 40 men responded right off the bat. And so what I noticed when I was asking them about what they experienced and what they liked, I noticed there was a marked difference in some of these answers. Some of these answers said, you know, basically, I kind of put it in there as a joke, you know, which do you prefer, oral sex or vaginal sex? You know, mouth or vagina? Which, because I'm thinking, of course, they're going to want vagina, right? What straight man doesn't want vagina? Sorry, Mike. And so with the survey, over the course of about 3 questions, do you prefer oral or vaginal sex? I almost said anal. Vaginal sex. Overwhelmingly, it seemed like half of them preferred oral and half preferred vaginal. Then another question was, does porn represent what you like? And about half of them said, yes, it's what I like. And I like it rough and hard. And I really love ramming a woman's face down on my cock over and over again. And other men who responded said, love, slow and sensual and this kind of thing. This half of the men over here, these responses were so violent, it triggered me, and I actually had to step back, and I was like, okay, I can't read this anymore, because this over here was, no, I couldn't read it anymore. So I set it aside for about 6 months. After about 6 months, I said, okay, I'm going to deal with this. I'm a sex coach. I need to be able to help anyone. And so let me reread this. And so as I reread this was still very violent, this batch over here. And then this batch over here was still very sensual and lovey-dovey and whatever. And so then I tried to find what is going on? Why are all these like this and why are all those like that? And when I looked through everything, there was no common denominator between birth origin, like what country they were born in. There was no common denominator between their age, their religion, because I asked all that, their occupation, when they started having sex, this, that, and the other. And then I realized what it was. One of the questions I asked was, are you intact or circumcised? All of these men over here that preferred the rough sex, the rough oral sex, where several of them talked about, and these were basically their words, holding on to a woman's head and ramming her head over and over again down on his cock. A few of them phrased it pretty much those words. They're all circumcised. And the men over here who talked about loving slow sex and deep sex, and they all said they did not like oral sex as much as vaginal sex because the oral sex was too intense and they came too quickly. With the vaginal sex, they were able to kind of mitigate the experience a little bit and last a little bit longer. And the men over here, the circumcised men, said they preferred oral sex because they could actually feel something. They could feel direct pressure that they couldn't feel in the vagina. And the reason why is because in the vagina does have some squeezing. Yeah, I know, right? The vagina intact were the passionate ones. Yes, you are the passionate ones, And so the closest that the men are going to come to having anything really squeezing on their penis is actually at the opening of the vagina, where you have, the pubic bone, right? You've got the pubic bone opening, but then you also have the legs of the clit. The little pink rosebud that you see on the outside, yes, that is just the beginning. That is literally the tip of the iceberg. Most of the clitoris is inside. Well, just inside, you have the legs of the clit that actually, as the clitoris expands, it's erectile tissue, right? And so when a woman is close to orgasm, to climax, those legs expand and form a vice grip. And so if you've ever been there, if you've ever, let's say you've had your fingers inside and the woman gets close to orgasm and that vice grip happens, your fingers aren't coming out. Especially if you're up, get that knuckle in, and that knuckle is like it's fingers aren't coming out. But that grip right there at the entrance to the vagina, that's going to be the strongest part. And that's going to be what circumcised men feel the most, because the rest of their penis, the part that was circumcised, is covered with 10 to 12 layers of keratinized tissue. It's the way the penis tries to heal itself. It tries to make a type of skin that's basically a callus. That's what keratinized skin is. So basically, a circumcised man, he has. That's why they pull out so far, is because it's the opening where they have the most feeling. Because the rest of their skin, that 1/3 to half their penis, is calloused tissue, and their fine touch nerve endings were cut away with the circumcision. So again, it's so hard to talk about this without feeling like I'm shaming circumcised men. Circumcised men did not choose this. That's the thing to remember, that men who were circumcised as babies, as boys, as children, did not choose it. And that's why it's a wounding that they carry with them, and they don't understand some of their anger. They don't understand some of their hatred for women. Let me tell you, the intactivist movement, as much as I really do align with being an intactivist, there are events I cannot participate in because the intactivists who show up are the angry intactivists. And I thought I was the only one who had noticed it until a friend of mine who was a fellow intactivist messaged me, and he asked me he asked me to comment on somebody's it's actually a student of his who was found out she was pregnant, and so he asked me to go comment on her social media post and just plant that seed that if it's a boy, don't circumcise, because he didn't feel comfortable doing it because he's a teacher of hers and he didn't want there to be a conflict of interest or whatever, and he doesn't want people to know he's an activist because and so I said, well, yeah, he said, but if you don't have time to do it, I understand. He said, I can get so-and-so to do it. He mentioned someone else. And I said, no, don't do that. She's one of the angry intactivists. And I just kind of said it as a joke using that term. And he responded with, oh, no, in that case, no, just if you can, I won't ask her. Because what happens is that when circumcised men wake up to what was done, what was taken away, what they've been missing out on their whole lives, and certainly what they've been missing since they were started being sexually active, they get angry. And the person they get angry with is their mother. So you talk about some serious mommy issues. Yes, indeed. These men, some of them just straight up hate women. They become men's rights activists to the nth degree. And so, it's just, the anger is palpable for men who were circumcised as babies because they didn't get to choose. And sexual trauma happens to both of us, men and women, all genders. It can happen at any time by anyone, usually by someone close to us. In fact, RAINN, it's Rape and Incest National Network. I think that's what the acronym stands for. But RAINN has. They've released not questionnaires, but the results of questionnaires. The people that they help, over 85% of sexual abuse happens by someone in the immediate family, friends and family circle. So this idea that sexual abuse happens by the boogeyman, some scary person who's going to come out of the bushes, or a dark alley or whatever, that's a total myth. And so for the angry intactivists, circumcised men, the people they blame are women. They blame their mothers. And we really don't need another generation of men who hate women. Please do not circumcise. Okay. So anyway, so does anybody have any questions? Does any of this sound just completely ridiculous and far-fetched? I love reading your comments, but if I read your comments and I get really off track of what I wanted. Well, Mike, the men themselves did not make the choice when they were a baby. That choice was made for them. And that's a big part of what we're trying to do, is acknowledge that men have basic human rights to body autonomy, just like women. And, as feminists, we demand our right to choose what happens to our body. And, yeah, okay, good. Good. I'm glad to agree. Very grounding what you're saying for me. Well, Raven, it's nice to meet you. I think I've seen you before on one of my live shows. It's just, I love men. I have always resonated with men better than I ever have with women. I think it's because I had a very strong masculine energy myself, and that's masculine as an energy. That's not, masculine as a body. I And that's been a big lesson for me on my twin flame journey and my spiritual journey is how to balance and come into my divine feminine energy. I've Men have always been sexually attracted to me. I've always radiated sexual energy and I never understood it. I hit puberty and developed breasts and hips and big butt, and men liked that and never understood why. But women didn't like that. And so I never really felt comfortable really with either one, but I knew that I loved men. And I've always gotten along with men. And so it's no surprise to me that most of the people that I help now are men. So, well, this is almost an hour, but I do want to let y'all know that I am running a special on my AWESOM program, and AWESOM stands for Awakening Energy and Sound Orgasm Meditation. And right now it's on special for $14.44. You can check it out at trishcausey.com/awesome, AWESOM. So if you are a circumcised man, if you are a woman, if you're a human being, and you'd like some training on how to increase your pleasure, make orgasms easier, get to orgasm faster, etc., feel free to check it out. This is what I do. This is a big part of what I do as a sacred sex shaman. I just want everybody to be happy. I want people to live in bliss. And from a spiritual perspective, orgasm is usually the closest most people get to a godly experience. And you can absolutely experience that bliss anytime. I orgasm spontaneously. I can orgasm just thinking about the word orgasm. I certainly orgasm thinking about my man, and that's always fun. But anyway, I want that for everyone. So anyway, so I'm having that special for this month, the month of November, and again, if you would like to support my Foreskin Fairy travels, I will take donations for that as well. Trying to get around the country. To rent a car for a month is $1,780. And if you wonder why I need to rent a car, it's because my car was stolen last year in San Francisco when I was a guest speaker at the Genital Autonomy Conference in May last year. So my car was stolen as I was doing the work for Foreskin. So anyway, so check out my special on AWESOM, Awakening Energy and Sound Orgasm Meditation. I've got the link in the description box. And again, donations are greatly appreciated. So thank you all for listening. Thank you for commenting. It's always great when I've got lots of people in the chat room. Please spread the word, And yes, the intact survey is still up. And if you have any problems, just email me at contact@trishcausey.com. But hey, Chad, we're signing off. But the replay should be up soon if you're just now joining us. But I am so grateful that y'all tuned in. And I'll be back on tomorrow night as I talk about muscle testing and talking with your true higher self if you're interested in some spiritual stuff. Okay. All right. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much. And please, remember, only love is real, right? The rest is all bullshit. And we're here to spread love and bliss. That's all that's important. All right. Y'all take care. I love you. Bye.